Today is the 9th of August and the temperature is expected to reach 38 or 39 degrees centigrade. It's midday and the sun is just blazing hot. And our poor construction workers are building our new office and storeroom. So this is another chapter of errands. But what I really want to show you in this heat is how the poor plants are suffering. This is not going to be a tour because I usually do the tours late in the evening. But just to show you, I didn't even put the camera towards the sun. It may burn my camera out. But our poor maples have suffered very badly. On the more positive side, the evergreens, the junipers, look how lush and green they are. These are my Itoigawa junipers. That's my famous old black pine. Another juniper. Not all the deciduous trees are suffering. This is a Korean hornbeam. This is looking pretty good. This is a cedar of Lebanon. Is looking good. And that is the famous maple forest. That's been slightly burnt. Some of the trident maples are looking okay. So junipers are looking extremely good. And these are the new Japanese white pines from Japan. Hundreds of them, hundreds. So if you want to buy white pine, you come here. Junipers too, we have plenty. Let me just show you some of the things we have. This is a rather rare pine. This is a variegated Japanese 5-needle pine. So the needles have got a touch of yellow and a touch of white. So different from the ordinary Japanese white pine. The Japanese white pine, the traditional one, has more of a bluish tinge to it. So you can see the distinct difference when I show those variegated ones and the normal bluish tinged ones. Those are just some of our junipers. Just some of our junipers. While I've got the camera, I might as well go the whole hog, as they say. It's a very English expression. And I'm going to show you our stock of junipers, Itoigawa junipers. Just walking through. Those are our Scots pines, made from our field-grown material. There's an example of a Deishojo which has been very badly burnt by the sun. This is going to be a subject of this video, but I'll come to that in more depth in a minute. And this is our tunnel. I've removed the cover because it's far too hot. I've just ripped the cover off. 5,000 pounds worth of plastic has been used for other purposes, but we've taken the tunnel cover off. And these are the Itoigawa junipers, just hundreds and hundreds of them. And some of them are going to be air-layered, others are going to be styled. So we've got Itoigawa, plenty of them. Plenty of them. Look at it. So many. Not all the tridents have suffered. This one is in pretty good shape. This is the massive one that I like photographing. Look at that Nibari. Pan round, that's another one there. So I've shown you all the evergreens which are looking good. The dawn redwood is a deciduous tree, but it's a conifer. But this one, despite the soft fronds, has not been burnt. Maybe because the pot is large enough and it doesn't dry so quickly. And that is the swamp cypress. That has not been burnt either. But some of my smaller dawn redwoods have been very badly burnt. Now, the subject of this video is really about the maples and how they've suffered in the sun. For the past month, we've had this horrendous heat, and the poor maple leaves have been completely burnt. But as I said, not all the maples have been burnt. This has been completely burnt. So they all have to have a special treatment, which I'm going to show you. This is an English elm. That's perfect. That's a Deshojo maple. Leaves are burnt. This is a maple, but this one has not been burnt. So it can be a bit confusing, because why is it that some are burning and some are not? So this is the subject of another experiment that I'm going to record and do. As I mentioned to you, I like doing experiments to record and discover why certain things happen in a certain way. Maybe because if you have a scientific bent of mind, you like to research these things to discover the reason why these things happen in nature. There's always a reason. Now this is a yew tree, and the new leaves on this one are in perfect condition. And that's English hawthorn. That's in perfect condition. So it seems that it's only the maples which have really suffered, really suffered badly. It's not that they're not being watered. They are being watered. Maybe they're not being watered at the correct time, or it's just the sheer heat that is burning them. But it's no point crying over spilt milk, as they say. We should just bite the bullet and do something about it. And doing something about it means doing a leaf prune. Okay, I won't stop the camera. I will keep it running. I'm now just going to walk into the back greenhouse, because last evening I took about maybe 20 maples which had their leaves scorched and burnt, and I started leaf pruning them. I'm now going to take you to the back and show you what I'm about to do. So this is the back greenhouse, and last evening I leaf pruned these trees. So all the leaves have been taken off. This has not been done yet, but these have all had their leaves taken off. And this is the wheelbarrow full of maple leaves which I had to cut off from the trees. There are more trees that I need of defoliating. Look at it, it's completely frazzled. How come these maples got in such a bad state? I do not know. But my gut feeling is that this weather is to blame. The weather you cannot control, and to give people the benefit of the doubt, I think it is the weather which has caused all this havoc. It really is a havoc situation. Crepe paper. So I'm going to show you what I will do to this. So here I am being photographed, because I was taking the video myself earlier on. So this is an example of a burnt maple that I'm going to leaf prune. And while I'm in front of the camera, this is my summer garb. I always wear a long sleeve shirt to protect my arms. I even roll my collar up so that the sun doesn't get my neck, and I wear my Panama hat. Okay, I'm inside the greenhouse, so I don't need to wear that now. So what do I do with the plant when it is burnt like this? So you can see virtually every leaf has been burnt. Every leaf has been burnt. So let us show you what we do. So the tools I use are these leaf pruning scissors. Some people use this design of scissors for cutting roots, but I like the feel of this. And as I told you before, it's what you prefer to use. You can even use ordinary secateurs. If you don't have proper bonsai tools, they will equally be proficient enough to do the job. So anything that can cut the leaves off. Now, what do we mean by cutting the leaves? By cutting the leaves, we literally cut off the dead leaf, but we leave the petiole, what you know as the petiole. The petiole is what we call the leaf stalk that remains. This is the petiole. So you see some of it just comes off. So you can pull it off, but it's best to leave the leaf stalk. That is what we do. So you literally go through an entire tree. Sometimes you can try and rub it off, but I find that rubbing off is not so efficient. So I will just cut them off. I'm not going to show you the entire process because this will take me about 2 or 3 minutes. It may be a waste of our precious video time. While I'm doing it, I'm taking the opportunity to give the bonsai maple a better shape. I'm not going to cut off major branches, only the small twigs I'm going to cut off. And when you do leaf cutting, you really should cut off every single leaf. Because if you don't cut off all the leaves that remain may continue to try and survive, and it may defeat the purpose. So why do we cut the leaves off? I have mentioned in other videos, the purpose of leaf pruning, at least as far as I'm concerned, is when maples get burnt like this, and there is no hope of getting a new crop of leaves. A maple that has been burnt like this is not good for the tree because it cannot produce any food to sustain the plant, and it will weaken the tree. Also, from the commercial point of view, it's not going to sell. Who's going to buy a maple that has been burnt like this? So we leaf cut for that reason. I've read in some books, and the books always say that you leaf cut to produce a smaller crop of leaves. I've been doing bonsai for many, many years. I started fiddling with bonsai since the, I would say, late 60s, early 70s. And in all that time, I have leaf cut thousands of trees. And from my experience, it doesn't necessarily produce a smaller crop of leaves. If anything, I find that the second crop of leaves might even be larger because you're stimulating the tree. So if your object is to produce a smaller crop of leaves, you can forget that. It doesn't necessarily happen. I'm not saying it won't happen, it may happen, but it doesn't guarantee a smaller crop of leaves. What it does produce is a more refined crop of leaves that has better autumn cover. Let me also explain to you the theory behind leaf cutting. This is only my theory, or what I think happens when you do a leaf prune. Leaf prune meaning you're going to remove every single leaf from the tree. And when you do that, you're making the tree produce two crops, meaning you're giving it an early autumn. By removing all the leaves, that means that you're forcing the maple to shed all the leaves. And when you shed all the leaves, it is going through the dormant period, and because the tree is still in a warm growing condition, it will force it to produce the next crop of leaves. And they do that because it feels it has to keep feeding the tree. It needs the food factories, which are the leaves, to feed the tree. But if you did it in winter, it would not happen. If you leave prune, well, there's nothing to prune in winter. You know, the leaves would have fallen anyway. So that doesn't arise. But by doing this, by removing all the leaves, this is all I removed, you're going to force the tree to produce leaves because it has to sustain itself. So that is the reason for leaf pruning. Where I find odd stubs of dead twigs and branches, I take the opportunity to clean that up as well. And after doing that, any heavy prune that I make, I always make sure I seal it with a wound sealant. And the wound sealant I use is the European one. You can use any of the Japanese sealants. I don't want to promote people's products, but there are many types of sealant you can use. It's just to stop the moisture loss, and also by stopping the moisture loss, you get callousing very quickly. So all these new cuts I've cut off. So there you are. That's a tree completely pruned. I think I didn't stop the video. It didn't even take me 2 minutes. This is another good example. You see that, in fact, some of the leaves have fallen off because it's just dried up. I see that it's already struggling to produce some new leaves. If you come here and look at it, these leaves are new leaves. So it has automatically produced new leaves because the old leaves have shed, fallen off. So what will I do with this one? Because it's a bit overgrown, I'm going to give it a very basic or rough prune. And because these twigs are very thin, it doesn't matter. I'm not doing major branch pruning. I'm just getting rid of some of these thin, straggly twigs, as it were. So because this tree has already shed the leaves of its own account, no one has cut it off. Some that have not been cut off, I will cut off. So these new leaves have already started coming. See, what I do is I grab handfuls of the leaves and then I cut them all off in the petiole like this. Can you see there are about 6 leaves? I'm just grabbing a handful and just going through with the scissors like that. I've got 6 leaves in one go. So you don't have to cut one leaf at a time. You can do it quickly by grabbing handfuls of the leaves. And you can see where the petioles are there. Again, 6 leaves I'm cutting in one go. That is 2 leaves in one go, 2 leaves in one go, 2 leaves, here 3 leaves. So this can be a very quick process. Don't forget, we've got to do hundreds of our trees because hundreds of them have just been burnt by the sun. And I noticed that there are 1 or 2 dead twigs. If you come close, you see that's a dead twig. And that I'm just going to clean up, get rid of. And I will seal that. So as I said, this one has already anticipated what's happening, so it started producing new leaves already. And I'm just going to seal these cuts to reduce the loss of moisture. And there you are. So that is one tree done. While we've got the camera running, let me show you 2 trees that we did only 9 days ago. These were the bookend maples, that triple colored maple. The leaves were all defoliated 10 days, 9 days I think ago. And already these new leaves have started coming. Look at the progress. This is what happens when you do leaf pruning or leaf cutting. So don't panic. Although we're into August, we've got the whole of August, September, and a bit of October. We've got 2.5 months or 2 months for the new leaves to come. So it's not too late to do leaf pruning. So if your trees are burnt like this one, we've got to go around and take all these burnt leaves off. So I hope this is a useful lesson for you, because throughout Europe we've had excessive heat, and the excessive heat has burnt all the leaves. But all is not lost. You will enjoy seeing a new flush. So you're creating 2 seasons growth in just 1 season. So this is what leaf pruning is all about. So I hope you've enjoyed and learned from this video.